This is Evan Nappen.
And I'm Teddy Nappen.
And welcome to Gun Lawyer. So, New Jersey's at it again. What, Teddy? Go ahead. What were you going to say, buddy?
Well, I was going to say you wouldn't believe the stuff that they're trying to cycle through on social media, where they're trying to now push the whole, you're afraid we're going to take your guns away. We're afraid you're going to take our children away. Which one is unfounded? Like, it's the...
Yeah, like, which one's unfounded? Yeah.
Yeah. And,
well, being that the antis never give up, those that want to crush our rights and oppress us, New Jersey, of course, always has to lead the way on doing that. And so now, as we discussed last show, we're all very excited at the Vermontes and Grant cases that are combined and having been granted certiorari by the U.S. Supreme Court, which means we're finally going to get a decision out of the Supreme Court determining the constitutionality of so-called assault weapon bans. But what is New Jersey's response when these things happen? They're like the Iranians, okay? And New Jersey makes their gun oppression policy, they act like the Iranians. They double down on threats. They double down on trying to convince us that they are just going to make life miserable for us. And they do it various ways. And their current response is essentially a assault firearm law radical enhancement. That's right. So here we realize that the entire concept of banning semi-automatic firearms is, my money is solidly on, that is going up in flames. Okay, there, as we talked about before, this is finally, I believe, on the road to destruction. This whole political fight that has harmed so many good people, ruined law-abiding citizens' lives, destroyed families, fortunes, and taken away freedom and rights. That this nightmare, I believe, is going to end. But there's actually even more excitement over when that end might take place that we'll talk about in a little bit. But in between, leave it to New Jersey to still propose even more, even worse, even more draconian laws, particularly on the dreaded, intrinsically evil assault firearms. That's right. New Jersey calls them assault firearms. Sometimes they're called, in other jurisdictions, federal law, assault weapons. It's a
homosexual term.
Yeah, it's a term that is just... You're right, it's opposite. It's a term that's just concocted so that they can make up lists of guns to ban and to make as far-reaching a ban to turn as many law-abiding citizens into criminals as they possibly can. So, new bill filed. It is Assembly Bill 442. This is New Jersey's incredible doubling down on their assault firearm law. And I wanted to just go through with you this law, because whether it'll pass or not, who knows? Even if it does pass, this stuff, I believe, is going down in flames and will no longer be anything they can pass laws about. Dead, gone, done. Sort of like what happens with when you enrage a bull elephant. You know, African elephants and Indian elephants, they're different. African elephants are extremely ornery, mean, tough. And Republicans, pick the elephant as their symbol. And sometimes I think about when we get the good elephant, when we get the African version of the elephant, and they actually do what's needed. And I think we're going to see that here through the judicial system, which now has plenty of great judges, thanks to President Trump appointing conservative judges. The bull elephants of Africa, they do not just kill you, they eliminate you. Okay? They crush you and crush you and crush you until there's nothing left. You can't even be picked up with a stick and a spoon. That's how much they disintegrate when they are riled up and attacking. Okay, so I suspect that we are going to see the African bull elephant happen to this entire agenda of assault firearms. But until then, let's look at what they want to do, because if it doesn't go that way, if it's somehow upheld that these things can be prohibited and banned and our rights can be walked upon in this manner, here's what New Jersey is doing to the current assault firearm definition. Let's actually look at what they're saying. So, of course, we have the current law that we're all familiar with that has a list of 67 guns, and then they say substantially identical, and that had never been effectively defined. And then we had case law that said substantially identical means the 1994 crime bill definition, which was amazing since that was 4 years after Jersey even passed their law. How our legislators knew that an unconstitutional law would be saved by a federal law that was passed 4 years later, I don't know. Somehow the court put that forward. We've lived under that for now, but now what they're doing is they are now going to incorporate and define with specificity in the statute the term substantially identical by claiming that any of these above guns and platforms, the 67 intrinsically evil semi-automatic firearms on that list, that will now include, under the term of substantially identical, a semi-automatic rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine. So that's step one. Any semi-automatic rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine, and at least one of the following features. So currently we have a 2-feature. This is now any one of these, and your semi-automatic firearm that takes a detachable magazine becomes contraband, becomes banned, becomes unlawful for you to possess with no lawful way of possessing. And if you are caught possessing an assault firearm, there's no grandfathering in this now. If you're caught possessing it, the penalty is so draconian it defies belief. It's up to 10 years in state's prison with a minimum mandatory minimum 3.5 years in state's prison, no chance of parole. You get convicted of possession of assault firearm, even right now in Jersey, no less this expanded list that we're going to look at in a minute. We are talking about then having the judge having no discretion whatsoever and having to impose at least 3.5 years in state's prison. And folks, if you have an assault firearm and you're possessing one, you get caught with it now, you're looking at that penalty right now. Now, hopefully we're going to get all this one, and I honestly believe we will, but just in case it doesn't, or if you get nailed before that happens, you're looking at insanity in terms of a prison sentence. So how does this new definition with one feature, what are the single features that make a semi-automatic rifle that takes a detachable magazine intrinsically evil and must be banned at the 2nd-degree felony level, where you're looking at 10 years and a minimum mandatory 3.5 in prison for just having any one of the following features? Number one, a folding or telescoping stock. Wow, you know how important a folding or telescoping stock is when it comes to fighting crime. I mean, a telescoping stock that moves 1 or 2 inches back or forth, I mean, that's like an entire crime wave into itself, right? You have that feature on your gun, you're looking at the offense I just outlined.
Wasn't there a case, Dad? wasn't there a case that you had where if you had a folding stock, it was deemed an assault firearm, and it
Well, that's
would've-
exactly what it is. So
literally, there was
currently a folding stock
there
or
was-
telescoping stock. Currently is. But wait,
yeah,
one feature though, just one, that. Try another. A pistol grip. If you have any rifle, semi-auto, that takes a mag, and it has a pistol grip, it's contraband. It's banned. You're looking at draconian sentencing and punishment for your possession, even though you lawfully bought it from a dealer, even though you had a firearms ID card, went through all the vetting, went through a NICS check, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit. You're going to state prison. If it has a thumb hole stock, one feature, a thumb hole stock, that's all it takes. It's an assault firearm. A second hand grip or protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand. A second hand grip, every rifle has a forearm. That's a second hand grip. What are you grabbing it with? Your dick? No. This is outrageous. It's stupid. It's a hand grip. Well, if your semi-auto rifle has a hand grip, it's an assault firearm. A bayonet mount. Oh my gosh, a bayonet mount. That's because of all the drive-by bayonettings, of course. If you have a flash suppressor, a muzzle brake, you're just trying to tame recoil, doesn't matter. A muzzle compensator, a threaded barrel designed to accommodate, you just have the threads on there. A flash suppressor, a muzzle brake, or a muzzle compensator. They want you having lots of recoil on your gun. Lots of recoil. Okay? Can't tame that recoil. We don't want you to have any accuracy in your shooting or ability to shoot without muzzle rise. I mean, what the hell? Insanity. Doesn't matter. A grenade launcher. Well, if you have a grenade launcher, that's one thing. Having grenades, that's another. And can you believe they want to prohibit us from having grenade launchers? What about all of us that go out grenade launching on the weekends? I mean, that really sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. Then, semi-automatic shotguns. Let's look at shotguns. A semi-automatic shotgun that has any one of the following: a folding or telescoping stock, a thumb hole stock. A thumb hole stock on a shotgun? I don't know. Maybe. I guess they're out there. Who cares if it has a thumb hole? Doesn't matter. Thumb hole stock. Maybe some of those trap guns may have some of the interesting designs that we sometimes see. Well, they're going to be an assault firearm under this bill. A second hand grip or a protruding grip held by the non-trigger hand. A second hand grip. Well, folks, if your semi-auto shotgun, and this just says semi-auto shotgun, it doesn't have to be mag-fed. So, my friends, if your Remington 1100 or your Remington 1187 or your Benelli or your Browning, your A5 or your standard good old reliable semi-auto shotgun that you inherited from your grandpa, if it has a forearm on it, gee, I don't think I've ever seen a semi-auto shotgun that doesn't have a forearm on it, where you grip it with your hand, that becomes an assault firearm. So attention all FUDs. Attention all FUDs who think, who cares about assault firearms? It doesn't affect me. Well, guess what? All your semi-auto shotguns with forearms become assault firearms overnight if this bill gets signed into law. A fixed magazine capacity exceeding 6 rounds. The ability to accept a detachable magazine. So you have any semi-auto shotgun that uses a detachable magazine. Doesn't matter how many the mag holds. If it can accept a detachable mag, it's instantly an assault firearm. What are they doing with pistols? A semi-automatic pistol that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least one of the following. So basically, every semi-automatic pistol that uses a detachable magazine, which is, maybe 99% of all pistols, right? Hence what semi-automatic pistols are, which are, except for some exceptions, a few exceptions, they're magazine fed, okay? I mean, I know the Kel-Tec uses the stripper clip deal into a fixed mag, but, maybe you have an old broom handle that uses a stripper clip into a fixed mag. But short of that, just about every pistol out there immediately has the ability to accept a detachable mag. And if your pistol has a folding or thumb hole stock, and of course they'll view a pistol brace as that because Jersey can interpret it their own way, a thumb hole stock, a second hand grip or protruding grip that can be held by the non-trigger hand. And there are, of course, larger revolvers, some that utilize even a form of a horizontal forearm, okay? And we've seen different grips that can go on other types of pistols.
Wasn't there a mod that you can do for Desert Eagles? Where
Sure,
you could put
yep,
you could
there's all
hold-
that stuff out there. You're right. A capacity. Now, this is just absolutely weird. Listen to this line: a capacity to accept an ammunition magazine that attaches to the pistol outside of the pistol grip. So, if your pistol can hold outside of the pistol grip an extra magazine, it doesn't mean that the magazine has to actually function. But if you have a handgun that has some capacity to hold an extra mag, then that's an assault firearm.
The only thing I
If your
can think
pistol
of-
has, I don't even, I guess there are
I think,
some,
I think they're referring to when you tape mags together sometimes. and you
I
can
guess,
pop them
well, I
in.
don't even know if that's possible in a pistol, but if it is, or if you have some type of magazine holder that is somehow attached to a gun. I don't even know are they referring to, maybe the Ronies, where your Glock goes in the Roni and you can have an extra mag up there that you can just grab. I don't know, but if it can do it, here's a great one: a threaded barrel, capable of accepting a barrel extender, flash suppressor, forward hand grip, or silencers. Oh, a threaded barrel. So now, because your pistol has a threaded barrel and you just want to have a compensator on there, or extra barrel weight, single feature, it's an assault firearm. Any handgun with a manufactured weight of 50 ounces or more when the pistol is unloaded. And then thrown in, I guess for laughs, is a semi-automatic version of an automatic rifle, shotgun, or firearm, a semi-automatic version of it. So, of an automatic. So, what are semi-automatic versions of full automatic firearms? Well, that's going to now include, well, obviously, your semi-auto Thompsons that are legal, they're going to be illegal. Any semi-automatic, but then the entire class of ARs, right? That, of course, will fall under that, right? So
Yeah.
this isn't even handguns. It's just a general catch-all that it's any semi-auto. And most semi-autos are versions of what are otherwise full auto or select fire guns. Just about every semi-auto rifle out there. Very few that aren't that. I mean, you may find some exceptions, but good grief, look at the stroke of coverage. That isn't even a feature bill. That isn't even a feature bill. Even if you have a semi-automatic rifle that used any kind of magazine, doesn't have to be a detachable magazine, anything, or a semi-automatic version of an automatic shotgun rifle or firearm. Wait a minute. Broom handles that we talked about not having a detachable mag would seem to be legal, but under this, now they're illegal because broom handles also had happy switch at a certain point, right? And a semi-automatic version of it is now going to be flat out illegal, even though it doesn't use a detachable magazine. So you can see how
Wouldn't they
far back
also-
and how far reaching and how broad this insanity is.
Wouldn't it also meet the weight category? Didn't they say like what is it, 50 ounces or something for?
No, I
like,
think
a
it's
pistol?
under on that, but there's, look, I'm not sure. I haven't weighed a broom handle in a while, but hey, it could be. The bottom line, folks, is this is what they see as important to do. They see this as something that has to get done to us to turn us all into criminals and doubling down facing what is going to happen in the courts. And that's where I really want to tell you, as crappy as this bill is, as insane and stupid as this bill is, the bottom line is we are positioned beautifully for the death of this insanity, finally, finally. And that's not just because of Viramontes and Grant being decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, but our own cases that are currently in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals on the en banc panel, and we're going to see decisions coming out both on sensitive places and on assault firearms, and we're going to see those decisions before we even see the Supreme Court rule in about a year on assault firearms. And I believe within the next few months, because we have a panel that appears to be one of the most respectful of the Second Amendments of any appellate circuit federal court out there, I believe we're going to see our New Jersey suffering end sooner than even the Supreme Court's death knell that should happen in June. So we have a lot to be positive about. The positive is this is really positioned to finally be crushed like a bull elephant smashing its prey into absolute oblivion. And I'm going to be extremely happy when that day comes. And
think
after
one
that,
thing-
my friends, go ahead. What, Teddy?
Well, I'm just kind of thinking back to when you were starting off, Dad. Think to the New Jersey for the assault weapon ban, the original assault weapon ban, where that came
Yep.
into play. Just thinking along the lines of like, what was the arguments and like what was the things they used as their tactics?
Well, I
to
can tell
pass?
you,
like
folks,
kind of going
that
to the history.
back in late 1989, and I'd actually become attorney in 1988. They passed became effective in May of 1990, New Jersey's assault firearm ban. And I remember back then we did not have the Second Amendment established by Heller and McDonald and Bruin. And we did not have the test of constitutionality with the historical analog requirements, et cetera. We did not have any of that. We didn't even have a court declaring that the Second Amendment was an individual right. And we all knew that it was a violation then of the Second Amendment because we all knew what the Second Amendment meant. But we didn't have the juice, the case law didn't exist. And so our approach at the time, which was initially successful, was going at the vagueness of the statute itself, which worked in Merrill, and that's how Jersey's law evolved when they brought the federal case over that. But we had arguments then, and it did turn thousands and thousands of citizens into criminals and still does to this day. And so looking now where years later, 40, right, 30 plus, whatever, years now later, we're finally going to see the end of it. And it's been a long time coming. But we will win this. And okay, it took a long time, but what we've established in getting to this point will protect freedom for generations. And that's something I'm proud of because I was a small part of that. And all of you that have fought for our rights are all part of it. And we're seeing history right before our eyes. But you got to know, you got to understand that this law has been devastating to so many people. It has destroyed and harmed. It has caused far more harm than any firearm has actually caused in terms of the absolute destruction to law-abiding citizens. When you look at how small the numbers are for deaths and such from these particular guns, it's minuscule compared to just how many people have suffered. And that's why, my friends, after we get this victory, I want reparations for gun owners. That's right, reparations for gun owners who suffered under New Jersey's tyrannical laws that destroyed, harmed, took away rights. Listen, reparations here, we have real victims that are alive today, not generations ago, alive now, that have paid a price for this insanity by Jersey. And they deserve reparations. And we'll be talking more about that after we destroy this horrible, most horrible of infringements. Calling it infringement actually is almost doing it a disservice. It's an atrocity passed by New Jersey. So stay tuned, and these are good times. I'm extremely cautiously optimistic for us, and you should be as well. Hey, let me tell you about our good friends at We Shoot. We Shoot is a range in Lakewood. It's an indoor range. It's a range where Teddy and I love to shoot. It is a fantastic resource. You will love We Shoot. Many of you already shoot there. They have great training. They have great pro shop. They can get you equipped. They can get you everything you need so that you can stay sharp, focused, trained, and practiced with your gun. Because if you don't shoot your gun, what good is it? You got to keep the skill set, keep your training, make sure you're on it. Super important, and We Shoot is a great resource right there in Central Jersey, conveniently off the Parkway in Lakewood, New Jersey. You can go to WeShootUSA.com. They have a great website. We love We Shoot, and so will you. Their training is first rate. You can get your CCAR certificate so you can get your carry. You can get advanced training, basic training. You can have the most fundamental. If you have someone in your family who doesn't know a thing about guns, they can get their start the right way at We Shoot. If you have someone, maybe even yourself, that's really advanced and went top of the line, advanced training, they can provide you with those services there, and they're the best. So check out We Shoot at WeShootUSA.com. And while you're at it, make sure you get a copy of my book, New Jersey Gun Law. It is the Bible of Jersey gun law. It's a book everybody uses, judges, lawyers, firearms division, you name it. It's the guidebook to help you from becoming a GoFu. You don't want to become a GoFu? That's one of the best ways of avoiding it, knowing the insanity of Jersey so you don't get caught up in the traps that they lay for law-abiding gun owners so they can turn them into criminals and then shout to the stupid general public to make it look like they're doing something about crime when it has nothing whatsoever to do with it except destroying their counter voter constituency. And that's the reality of what they're about. So be smart. Get a copy of my book at evannappin.com. Go to evannappin.com and get your copy today. Teddy, what else do you have for us?
As you know, press checks are always free, and this is something that seems to be coming up more and more as we know that the left are on their last legs when it comes to their attacks on our rights, particularly with the victories that we have and the ones that we're going to have in the Supreme Court, all the challenges. But I will give them credit as they get more and more creative and look for other ways to abuse. So this goes back a year ago, where was this from Gun News Daily, where this was under Platkin from the Office of New Jersey. They were offering free gun-free zone decals to establishments wishing to register as designated gun-free areas under the Sensitive Places Law. So they were actually trying to disarm you in the best way they can, which is just getting a bunch of individuals who have their property, any place, storefronts, whatever, and say, no, no, no guns allowed, don't defend yourself. And this brings into an issue that I find important because it is a clash of rights where it is the argument of property rights versus our gun rights. And look, we've seen the abuse of property where you have people coming on to it. You see the squatter issues, you see many on that end. But when it comes to gun rights, which is our civil right, it's something that I think is going to come to blows eventually, and I think this needs to be handled. But
Well, particularly after the Hawaii case, where now the vampire rule is unconstitutional, but we're going to see more regarding sensitive places when the Third Circuit appeals decision, which should come out shortly, on with Coons, the Coons decision on New Jersey sensitive places, and I'm excited to see what the panel has to say. But you're right, Teddy. What they'll try to do is they'll try to pit property rights versus gun rights, and they'll try to still encourage private entities to put up no gun signs. And this way, the clash between property rights and gun rights has to get figured out. Because, yeah, we have the Hawaii case that talks about places open to the public where the federal government cannot make a law regarding that. But a private entity still has the ability over their private property to decide who can go on it. So they can say no shoes, no shirt, no service. They can stop, say no animals, no whatever. There's different things property owners, but the line gets drawn over race because of civil rights. You can't say no blacks or no Jews or no Hispanics. You can't do that, okay? But you can limit other things on your property. So I believe strongly in property rights, and I also believe strongly, big surprise, in gun rights. But what happens is many times with rights, there's a clash of rights because property rights and gun rights may have a clash here if a property owner doesn't want guns on their property. Where do we draw the line? Does my right under the Second Amendment, my fundamental God-given right to defend myself with the most effective means, does that right that I have to do that, which is a right, 100% established, no question about it, does that right override or supersede a property owner's property rights? And that's where the antis will play that game. And they'll try to get property rights made superior to gun rights. But in reality, that should not be the case. It should be the opposite. Gun rights should be put on the very same plane as civil rights. It is a civil right. And I mean in the same way that you aren't allowed to exercise racial discrimination, you also cannot discriminate against individuals that are exercising their Second Amendment right, their individual right to keep and bear
So
arms.
would
It
just
belongs
to
in the
go-
same class.
just to go into like the where the test would be needed for when if the Supreme Court ever took a case on this, basically would require the equal protection clause to where that falls into the category of strict scrutiny, where we're in the grouping where it's like you cannot discriminate race, religion, like creed, and gun owner effectively, where you
Well,
kind of like
I don't know
into
where
that
the
category.
I don't know if that is a test that will be utilized or not, because if it's gun rights, then we have to go back to that historical analog. But when it comes to property rights and how far you can assert it, it's somewhat of an open question. But I can tell you this: any business stupid enough to put a sign out there that no guns are allowed, so that you are effectively disarming every one of your customers, get ready to get your ass suit off when a crime occurs in your place of business and you disarmed the defender who could have otherwise defended themselves. You want that lawsuit? Because that's what you're going to get. That's exactly what you're going to get. So think real hard before you put up a no guns allowed sign. Because the no guns allowed sign is also saying, sue me if crime occurs here and you couldn't defend yourself. That's also what that sign says, just not in writing on it.
Was there a case where someone was forced to disarm and they were like either shot or injured because they were disarmed?
I believe there have been, but I don't have them right at my fingertips. But I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
I don't see a problem with that cause of action. I don't see a problem because there is tort action in Jersey called failure to provide inadequate security. So you have the businesses have a duty to provide adequate security, and if they ban someone who has a carry license from carrying a gun and protecting themselves, and they have a duty, which they do have, to provide adequate security, then I can well see an excellent civil lawsuit taking place under their duty to provide adequate security and, in fact, making the premises less secure by taking away not just a permit to carry holder, but a trained permit to carry holder. And why do I say they're trained? Because training, my friends, is part of getting your carry permit, isn't it? In the Carry Killer bill, what do they require? C-Care, that you're trained. Trained in what? Use of force, when you can and can't shoot. Trained in what? How to shoot safely. You must pass and qualify. So they are stopping state qualified individuals who have a permit to carry from lawfully defending themselves and then failing to provide adequate security to those people who they mandated disarm themselves. Good luck with that civil suit, dumbass business, for putting that sign up. Good luck with that.
I'm still waiting on Jersey trying to force the where they require that class. I remember, what was it, every town was running those stupid classes for training them up for firearms, and it's just a long propaganda wing that they just go through all their talking points, and there was barely any knowledge being taught in actually handling the firearms. I'm waiting for Jersey to force you to take that particular course. So I guess that'd be another abuse to that as well.
Who knows? And then those will be challenged too. But the good news is we're making tremendous progress, and I believe really great things are soon on the way here. And I mean within reach. It's going to be great. But in the meantime, we still have GoFus taking place, Teddy. We have gun owner F-ups. And GoFus, as you know, are expensive mistakes that clients and others have made. And I want to always advise my beloved listeners about these GoFus so you can learn for free the mistakes that others have made. And one of the GoFus that we see a lot, and I mean a lot, folks, is not knowing what's in your handbag, not knowing what's in your suitcase, not knowing what's in your briefcase. When I say not knowing, I mean forgetting that your gun is there. And you may think, why would I ever forget that my gun is there? But oh my God, we get the airport cases. We get the folks that are visiting historical places where they have screening. We get cases where people are going to amusement parks. We have all these sporting events, entertainment events, etc. And they're bringing their backpack, they're using a range bag or something that they had used to go to the range or something where they had traveled with a gun or forget. Folks, be extra careful. Just like press checks are free, it's absolutely free for you to thoroughly and completely empty your purse, empty your bag, empty your suitcase, empty your briefcase, check every pocket, make sure it's empty, and then put in what you need and make sure that you're not carrying by accident a gun, a magazine, ammunition. I've seen it all. And these things lead to criminal charges often. They lead to you facing draconian penalties, losing your gun rights. Make sure that you double check any of these bags and make sure you know the places that you're going as to whether you're going to be security screened. And I've had many a client say they walked up and they saw that there was a metal detector or screening taking place. And instead of just turning around, going back to the car, because they suddenly remembered they have it, they figure, well, I'll just tell them about it. I'll just be honest and say, look, I have it. What do you want me to do? Go, foo. Go, foo. You do that, boom. Next thing you know, the police are involved. Don't ever go through those security checkpoints of any type with any kind of firearm, accessory, ammo, anything. It causes tremendous grief and is one of the top go-foos that we see every day. This is Evan Nappen and Teddy Nappen reminding you that gun laws do not protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.